Hi, it's Chris here from the EQ Mod project. This video is going to look at forcing meridian flips and the way in which EQASCOM implements the movement of such flips. As you can see, I've already got EQASCOM started and I've got a video feed from my observatory showing the position of the mount. I've pre-positioned the mount to point at an object close to the meridian, and so the counterweight bar is almost horizontal, but not quite. The scope is still above the counterweights. If I wanted to force a flip so that I'm pointing at the same object, but with the counterweight bar on the opposite side of the pier, what I can do is just tick this little box here that says Force Flipped Go To, and then reissue my slew, or my go to the particular object I'm looking at.
Slew it to target.
Now currently I've got mount limits on, and when mount limits are on, the telescope or the mount will only position itself within those limit positions. So if I were attempting to force a flipped go to a position that was outside of those limits, it wouldn't let me do it. It would just do an ordinary go to. But because this particular object is close to the meridian, and obviously within 1 hour of it, because I've set my limit point 1 hour away from the meridian, the go-to will complete. As we can see, both the right ascension and declination axes are moving simultaneously. As we can see, the mount has flipped its position.
Slew complete.
If I wanted to go to another object on the same side of the meridian, but with another flip, you'll see I have to check this box again. That's because by default EQASCOM will always try and assume a counterweights down position, and we wanted to make the flipped position something of an exception. So you have to check the box every time you want to use it. So here I am, I'm going to a slightly different position, but forcing a flip again.
Slew it to target.
And as you can see, it just moves straight there, again moving in simultaneously in right ascension and declination.
Slew complete.
Right, I'm now, if I now do another go to without checking that box, it will obviously do a flip back to the original side.
To target.
So this is a slew to exactly the same object, but because that checkbox is not ticked, it's going to flip the mount and put it in the normal counterweights down position.
Slew complete.
Okay. Right, I'm now going to show you the same sort of thing when limits are off, because the movement is slightly different. So I shall disable my limits. As you can see, the little yellow bars have disappeared. And now I shall initiate a slew, a flip slew, to the other side of the meridian. As you can see, right ascension and declination are moving simultaneously, and that will continue until such point as the right ascension has hit the horizontal position. Once it gets there, it'll pause slightly whilst the declination gets to its target, if it isn't already there, and then with the declination at the correct position, it'll then complete the move in right ascension only. This is because the limits are off, and so there is no protection against collision. So what we're going to make sure is whenever we move below horizontal, movement is only ever in right ascension. So you see it pauses a little while, the declination is already in the correct position, and then it completes its move. Now,
Complete.
I can show this perhaps a little better by doing a flip, another flip to the same side of the meridian, but to an object with a much greater declination.
Slewing to target.
Okay, so what happens is we move first in right ascension until we hit the horizontal position. It will then adjust the declination of the scope, as you can see. And once the declination is in the correct position, it will then move the right ascension back to the position. It needs
Complete.
to the position it needs to be in. This might seem an odd kind of way to move. It means I could be moving from one location to another location quite close by, and every time it will take its way back to horizontal, readjust and move back. But it really is the safest way of moving the mount when you're moving out of limits. In this way, the target position is always approached by moving in right ascension only. So if there is any danger of collision, it's much easier for you to anticipate when or if it's going to occur.